Okay, here we are in chapter 4.6, decimal multiplication. And again, we're using models to help us understand the multiplication. Now, sometimes it's easier just to multiply than use the model, but the model will help us understand it, so you have to do it. You have to be willing to just go ahead and participate in that. For instance, 0.3 times 0.2, 3/10 times 2/10. The answer to that is just remembering that 3 times 2 is 6, and then adding our decimal back in. There's 1, 2 decimal places, so we'll add our decimal back in so that there's 2 decimal places here. The answer is 0 and 6/10, and I can see that simply by just multiplying and adding the decimal back in. 3 times 2 is 6, and then understanding that 3/10 times 2/10 is 6/100. But it's hard to actually understand that. It's hard to find understanding for that. So the model will help us find understanding for that. So we need to understand. Okay, so I'm going to show you on these models how you multiply decimals, and we'll just we're going to start with similar decimals, tenths. Okay, and a tenth. Remember this whole column here, these are columns, right? This whole entire column is a tenth. So if I were to take and just fill the column with, say, this color, that's equal to 1/10. This is equal to 0.1. It's 1/10. And if I were to fill another one, that would be 2/10, and so on, all the way up to 10/10. Okay, so that's the first idea, is that we have these tenths, and each row is also a tenth. So if I were to take another color and fill these columns, this row, that is also 1/10. And if I just use this part that's overlapped, let's see, we'll go back to my pen. So I think it's that one. Maybe that one. Alright, so this is 1/10. This direction, that row is 1/10, this column is 1/10. And if I were to multiply 1/10 times 1/10, this is 0.1 times 0.1, I actually am going to get 1/100th, and I can see that I've got 1 decimal place here, 1 decimal place here, and these two make 2 decimal places. And so 1/10 times 1/10 is equal to 1/100th. Okay. Whenever I multiply a decimal times a decimal, my product actually gets smaller. 3/10 times 2/10 is 6/100. And there's a way to explain that, and maybe on this next one I'll try to explain that. I'm going to go with, we'll call this 5/10 times 2/10. Okay, so 5/10 times 2/10. And we'll remember, just as a hint, to remember that 5/10 is the same as 1/2. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to start. The book says to start with your columns, and they start with columns. These are rows and columns. They say rows is here and columns is here. Now they do it slightly different, but I'm going to go ahead and do it a way that I think you'll understand, which is kind of like this way here. We'll use, let's see, yellow and blue make green, so we'll use yellow, and we'll go, okay, so 5 rows, 5/10, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's 5/10. If I go ahead and write that with a pen, that's 0. I don't like that pen. I grabbed that one. I need to grab this one. And I thought I had red here. 5/10 are these columns. Okay. are these rows. Now we're going to cross with these 2/10, and we said yellow and blue, so let's get blue out, and we'll assume that yellow and blue are going to make green. And so when I fill up these tenths, got to remember to get this. This is 1 2/10, and we're going to remember that when I do yellow and blue, I get green. So this picture is supposed to show us that the yellow one, the yellow rows, and the blue columns make the green product. So green is the product. Okay, so go back to here, go back to here, and this is 2/10. So we have 2 columns and 5 rows. And remember that 0.5 is equal to half, and times is also equal to of. So we're really saying half of 2/10. And you can see here that my 2/10 are these 2 rows. And basically by having 5 rows of 2 columns, this green part is half of my 2 columns. That's a little hard to verbalize. I'm not sure how to explain it, but I think you can see that this little section here is half of my 2/10. Half of my 2/10 is what I've got going here. Let's see if I can erase those. Okay, so the green is half of the blue section. Now the yellow is the whole thing. The yellow is half. It's half of the whole thing. It's just basically 5 times 2 is equal to 10. And I put my decimal back in and it becomes 1/10, but there's really 1, 2, 3, that's 10 hundredths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 little boxes here. That's 10 hundredths. 5 times 2 is 10. It gets smaller. It's like half of it gets smaller. So it's how it works. You have to clean that up a little bit, but I think you can start to see it. So let's try it again. Let's just do something like 0.8 times 0.3. Now I'm wondering how they do it in your book. Yeah, they pretty much do it that way, all the way through. Alright, so the book likes to use this second one as your column. So we'll start with the blue. Use this blue, and we'll fill 3 columns, 3/10. There's 1, 2, 3. And that's like 3/10 or 30 hundredths. And then yellow is 8, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 8 rows, but I needed to turn these ones green because they turn when you mix the yellow and blue, you get green, and you guys know that, so we'll try to keep doing that pattern. Okay, so what's left here? If I just count these up, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 hundredths. That is equal to 24 hundredths, and that's written like that. So 24 hundredths, let's say 0.24, right? The 0.8 times 0.3 equals 0.24. Hopefully that's a little more legible. Okay, so really 8 times 3 is 24. We just have to know where to put the decimal, but these models are helping us understand how that works. Now the only thing else I really want you to see is that I can do this with numbers bigger than 1. But again, it's a little hard to do it with just any number. So we're going to use something like what they have. They have 1. Nope. Back to the pen. There we go. Back to color. Say 1.3 times 0.4. Okay. So 1 is like the whole square. The whole square is 1. So, this is going to take me a little bit of time, but this whole thing is 1. And I just try to fill the whole thing up with this little paint bucket. There should be an easier way to do this. 1 is 100 hundredths. It's 1 whole, and you know that the whole square is 1. So if I take this whole square, and you're going to have to do this with a marker or colored pencil or something, which might actually be easier than what I'm doing. You're going to fill this up on your paper. So there's 1, and how many tenths? 1 whole, 3 tenths. And it doesn't matter which direction, whether you do columns or rows, as long as you do the opposite with the other. So there's 1 and 3 tenths, so there's 1, and this is 3 tenths. 1 and 3 tenths. Now we have to do the other direction. Well, see, I used green there, so that's the yellow and green, and blue isn't going to work very well, so I just pick any random color. 0.4 is going to be this direction, and I've got to do back to 1, 2, 3, 4, but really what matters is that my overlapping, whatever the overlap is, are the ones that I actually am counting. Oops, can't do that one. Oh no, I can actually, because that's 4. There's 4 rows here. There's 4 tenths, and here's 4 more. Okay, so if I go back and add this up, this is this bit right here. This bit is equal to 40. And this bit is equal to 1, 2, 3 times 4 is 12. And if I add those together, that's 52. So it's 52 hundredths equals 0 and 52, which is 0.52 hundredths. And 13 times 4 is 52. Okay, and I have 2 decimal places to put back in, and those come out, so it's 0.52, and the place where they cross is 52. There's 52 little hundredths here in here. So that's how you use a number that's bigger than 1. Okay, I think that's plenty for you to think about. The assignment actually looks very easy. It should take you less time to do the assignment than to watch the video that I just gave you. Okay, so good job. Talk to you later.